one of the most dangerous parts of this race.
Well, John, the start is probably the most dangerous on the course. With these conditions today, and believe me, it is very rough out here. The drivers are really going to have to run a very smooth race to get through these conditions. It's the start with the boats funneling down to that first turn can get pretty touchy.
All right, the shot you see now is high above the river, the Sacramento River. You can see the boats lined up on the dock there. Steve D'Souza is at the bottom of your screen. He won the pole. He'll be angling left, going across the river, staying on the right side of that yellow buoy out in the middle of the river, then veering left, then slightly right, and coming back into turns 3, and then going around to turn 4, and out, of course, in front of the main grandstand. And I was at the drivers' meeting on Saturday, and Mike Tomlinson, the referee for IOGP, was instructing the drivers at that point, Mike, to maintain their lanes until they get into racing conditions.
Well, that's very crucial at the start, to maintain your lane, because the drivers are in these capsules. They cannot change the lanes because they could get in some other driver's way that might be right behind them.
All right, we have had the shooting of the red flare, which means 1 minute until race time. We will have it just momentarily here. You'll see the flare go high in the air, and there goes the flare. That means 1 minute until the start of this final, the Champ Boat race. There you see the boats lined up on the dock. The boat nearest to you is the Easy Loader, number 94, Steve D'Souza. And of course, Steve won the Baltimore race a few weeks ago, his first victory of the season. We'll see the white flag come down. That will mean 20 seconds until race time. The IOGP officials here near our press box vantage point, also down on the dock.
There's the 30-second mark.
The white flag has yet to come out. When it does come out, it'll mean 20 seconds, or he can drop it prior to that. 20 seconds until the start of this race. The flag man has indicated the white flag. And then you'll see the boats are off and running. And Don Johnson, number 21, takes the lead. They're off to a clean start so far. However, number 8, Buck Thornton, is left down on the dock, but in the lead right now is number 21, Don Johnston, as they head out toward turn number 3. They'll come around. They'll go into the short chute, as Don Johnson does right now, around turn number 4. There he goes, and then up the front straightaway. And Mike, the windy conditions right here, the wind has died down right now.
Oh, it's just a very gusty wind, and Don Johnson got off to a very beautiful start. He had a very serious accident here last year, and look at him right now. He has got the lead, and he's not going to let it go.
Here's your leader, Don Johnson, number 21, as they approach the turn there on turn number 1, as they just came along the front straightaway. Don Johnson, number 21, as Mike said, had a serious accident here last year when he ran into the boat of Bill Seabold. And Bill Seabold is in the number 7 boat, chasing Don Johnson. So you might have to think in the back of your mind right now, Bill Seabold probably remembers that incident from a year ago. He would desperately like to catch number 21, Don Johnson, who is in the lead right now. Johnson driving the Arcadian, the orange boat. He is from Lakeview Terrace, California, coming up the front straight now and going north.
The two teams, the Arcadian and the Bud Light team, have a very strong competitive edge against the two. Those two teams are always 1 and 2, and look at Seabold go. He took him on the outside.
All right, you saw it right there going around turn number 2. Bill Seabold was trying to pass Don Johnson, couldn't quite do it. And really the boat that has the right-of-way is the boat that goes in the turn first. Isn't that right, Mike?
That's correct, John. The overlap rule states that if a boat, the lead boat has the right of way until the overtaking boat is even with the cockpit of the overtaking boat, and then he has to give the right of way to the overtaking boat.
What a race we're having right now. Don Johnson of Lakeview, California, battling. He's in the lead. Bill Seabold, they're coming down the front straightaway. Bill Seabold in the number 7 boat trying to pass, and does pass Don Johnson. There's a bumping incident right there. Johnson on the inside, Bill Seabold on the outside, took him. Bill Seabold has overtaken Don Johnson for the lead as they came around turns 1 and 2. And Bill Seabold now has opened up a big lead on Don Johnson right there. Mike, there was a bumping incident right there just prior to the entrance of turn number 1. Do you think there'll be an infraction or not?
That's very difficult to tell. It's very hard for us to see up here. They did look very close, but it's too early for us to call if there wasn't going to be an infraction called. But that was very close.
The boat in your picture right now, number 7, Bill Seabold of St. Louis, Missouri, driving the Bud Light. His crew chief is Tom Stickle. Seabold is the winningest driver in the history of tunnel boat racing. This man began racing at the age 11 as he goes around turn number 1, and there he is around turn number 2, followed by the orange boat, the Arcadian, driven by Don Johnston. But Mike Seabold is his son. He is going around turn 1 now and into turn number 2, but Bill Seabold, his father, has a big lead on Don Johnston. That's Bill Seabold going around turn 1 and turn 2 and coming along the main straightaway. And
we had a bumping action there. Art Kennedy and Jim McKay, they touched together in turns 2.
Okay, but your leader right now is number 7, Bill Seabold, as he comes in front of the front grandstand right now, the main straightaway going from north to south. Into turn 1, into turn 2. Can't quite tell if he's opened up a lead on number 21, Don Johnston, yet. But Johnston is in the orange Arcadian boat chasing Bill Seabold, and it looks like he has opened up the lead. We have 4 laps completed. The average speed of Bill Seabold, 117.7 miles per hour. Bill Seabold of St. Louis, Missouri, in the lead here at the finals of the Champ Boat race. We'll be right back. At Sacramento Water Festival, the boat you see right now is number 7, Bill Seabold. He is the leader. 8 laps completed here in the final Champ Boat race. And Bill Seabold with a sizable lead on the number 21 boat of Don Johnson, the orange Arcadian boat. Bill Seabold, 47 years old, is in the lead right now, but we've got a problem down on the dock. One of the drivers is out, Buck Thornton, out of the race. And let's go to Mark Kedlin down on the dock. Okay, obviously we're having some problems live cut in from Mark Edlin down on the dock right now. Bill Seabold is the leader. Bill Seabold, and there he is driving the Bud Light, number 7 boat. He just came around turn number 2, and there was a problem going around turn number 2. We've got a slowing up of another boat right now.
That's Buck Thornton, John. He got back on the course again. He must have got his problem partially figured out, but right now he can't quite get the boat up on plane. Interesting. You got in 4th place, we have Scott Gilliman and Craig Wendt, their 2nd year of racing, and they are just running a superb race. Craig Wendt finished 2nd 2 weeks ago in Baltimore. There you see Seabold again out in front.
That's right. Bill Seabold is your leader. And Bill Seabold has won more tunnel boat races. He holds more world and national titles than anyone in the history of tunnel boat racing, as Bill Seabold goes around turns number 1 and number 2 down the back straight on the YOLO side here on the Sacramento River. And there he is in the Bud Light, number 7. He is a boat builder. He is a boat designer. He is a boat creator. In fact, 9 of the racers out here today are driving the Seabold pole. And Mike, how do you compare this course to some of the other courses around the country?
John, right now this course is it's very rough. We did have a cancellation of an event in Jacksonville Memorial Day weekend, and it was very similar conditions, a little bit rougher, bigger rollers, so the boats couldn't quite handle it. Typical course, typical river course, narrow, long straightaways, narrow turns, very similar to most of the IOGP courses.
Do you see any white caps out there, Mike? I see a lot of rollers. I'm not sure if I see any white caps or not.
No white caps yet, but the way the wind is coming across, it's sort of at an angle across the course, and it doesn't allow the water to get churned up that much. You get the slow rolls, though.
All right, once again, your leader continues to be Bill Seabold out of St. Louis, Missouri. He has a sizable lead on number 21, Don Johnson. What kind of problems can the wind create? What does it do to the water, and what does the water do to the boat? How does that create a dangerous situation?
In a situation like this, where the water is just chopped up, the boats, the drivers they've got to be concentrating all the time anyway, driving a tunnel boat. But it's added. They've trimmed the boat. You have a trim button on the foot, on your left foot, allows you to trim the engine out to adjust for the different air currents. And right now, those drivers are constantly on the trim, in and out, for the different wind gusts and the water conditions.
So if the water conditions get too severe, that means the front of the boat will lift up high, and certainly they won't be able to race because all the boats will flip out of the water.
Right, that's correct.
All right, coming along the front straightaway is Bill Seabold, number 7, driving the Bud Light. He is in the lead. Here he is, coming down the main straightaway into turn number 1, around the buoy there on turn 1, then into the short chute and around turn number 2. And Mike, let's talk about some of these tunnel boats that we're seeing out here today and the fact that they can turn so sharply.
Well, we have a few different design boats out here. As you see, Bill Seabold is running a boat of his own design. Don Johnston in boat number 21, he's running a Burgess boat. It's built in England. Quite a bit different looking boat compared to the Seabold, but they handled it a little different also. The Burgess seems to run better in a smoother water. Billy's boats, the Seabold boats, they tend to handle that rougher water just a little bit better. In the conditions like this, I think you'll probably see the Seabold boat maybe handle the water conditions a little bit better.
Well, we've got a problem with the number 8 boat. That is a Buck Thornton. He is driving very slowly here, pulling up in front of the dock. He is having engine problems, and Buck Thornton, you might recall, his boat caught fire along the back side of the river last year, a fiery incident. He got out of the boat okay, is back into Sacramento, and right now we have a caution flag out. The yellow has come out. We have a boat along turn 3 and 4, so that means the yellow has come out. The race will continue, but it means the drivers, Mike, have to be cautious at this point because the yellow flag is out.
Yeah, that's the boat of Craig Wendt. He must have tried to take that turn a little too tight, got caught up in the chop, and stuffed the boat. He appears to be okay. The rescue crew's getting to him, but Craig Wendt is out for the day.
That's number 50, Craig Wendt of Huntington Beach. The boat is in the water. The yellow flag has come out. The race will not stop at this point. The race will continue. Bill Seabold continues to be your leader, but the drivers, as Mike said, and as we indicated, have to be very careful at this point.
This is a very difficult part of the race. When you do get the yellow, the drivers still cannot relax. They've got to let up a little bit to avoid the boat in the water there. Very difficult part of the race for the driver to keep his concentration going.
You know, we know that this is a fast course. We know that it's at a tight course. The fact that they have such a long straightaways and then they've got to back off coming into the corner, does that create a problem?
No, the drivers are used to that. That's the tunnel boat itself is a very good handling boat, especially in the turns. You can pull as many as 4 Gs in the turn with one of these tunnel boats.
Most of the accidents that we see are in the corners, though, aren't they?
Not necessarily so. On a course like this, it would probably be because the drivers are going to be extra cautious going down the straightaways in the wind, especially going into the wind. They're going to run a little negative trim, keep the engine tucked under, keep the nose of that boat down so it doesn't get airborne, and do a complete flip. In the turns, it's difficult because if you fall into a hole or a roller, you don't have any control over it. You've got less control in the turns in case of an accident than you do down the straightaways, where a boat could just all of a sudden kite and go over backwards.
All right, Bill Seabold, the number 7 boat, along the front straightaway right there. Let's go down to the dock area, and Mark Hedlund. We're still under the yellow.
Well, I'm here with Luther Harkins. He's the crew chief for number 2, Art Kennedy. And what's Art's problem now?
Somebody run into him and poked a hole in the boat about 2.5 foot long. We just taped it up and put him back in.
You think that's going to hold?
Probably. It's up on the front spots and fairly high. Only place it'll touch the water is on the corners.
Do you think you'll be able to keep it going throughout the race?
We hope.
Okay, back to you, John.
All right. Boat number 7 is Bill Seabold. 17 of the 50 laps completed in this main event here at the Sacramento Water Festival. Bill Seabold finished 2nd in the point standings a year ago. He won the last 3 races in Minneapolis, and of course his home, St. Louis, and then again in Fort Lauderdale. He started in the number 15 position and came up a winner there last year. So far in the 2 races, the first race in Los Angeles this year, he was 9th. At Augusta, he did not finish after qualifying in the pole. But right now, he has a commanding lead. I mean, he is virtually running away with this race. Mike, he has a sizable lead on Don Johnston.
Well, he's like a man possessed. He had some problems early on in the year. He missed the race in Baltimore. He had a commitment in Europe to run the Bristol Grand Prix. Didn't even qualify in Europe, in England, for that race. So he's coming here. He's had a lot of bad luck, and he's going to try to change it here today, and he's doing a very good job at it right now.
Is it true that Bill Siebold has been racing for more than 37 years?
Yes, he started at a very young age. His father's been racing. Grandpa Siebold is here today.
Okay, back down to Mark Hedlund in the dock area.
Well, I'm here with Buck Thornton. He's the number 8 driver. He was on the number 5 position off of the dock, and he didn't even get off the dock. Buck, what happened to the boat? You couldn't even get off on the start.
It just wouldn't start at the beginning, and then after we got going, I thought I could pick up on the field because we had plenty of power, but after we made one lap, it's all over.
It's got to be real disappointing for you when that happens. You don't even get a shot at it.
It's been terrible.
Okay, thanks, Buck.
We'll be back.
Back to you, John.
Okay. We know how bad that Buck Thornton feels because he came out of the race a year ago, and there is a boat in the water right there.
That's the boat of Craig Wendt that went over in the turn earlier. They've got it off the course now, and it appears the yellow flag is down, the green flag is up, so we're under full race conditions again.
That was not a live shot. That was the boat of Craig Wendt that went in between turns 3 and 4. They were under the yellow light. We're back under the green, as Mike said, and Bill Siebold continues to lead this race.
Looks like Steve D'Souza, if we can pick up on him, he is now running in 3rd. He's fallen off a little bit. I expected him to be running a little bit better under these conditions. He does have one of the Siebold boats. He did win in Baltimore, like we said earlier. I expected him to be a little further ahead right now.
Talk about the setup and how they set up for this race, and the fact that you had qualifying yesterday, now you have to re-qualify again today, and that you don't use the same setup in the race as you do in qualifying. How do you set the boat up? What do you do to the engine?
Well, right now, when they qualified again this morning, the water conditions are much better than they are right now. And you run a 1-lap qualifying time trial, you're going to set up different. You're going to run the engines a little higher on the transom to get the boat to run its optimum, because you're the only boat on the course. You don't have the chopped up conditions. You definitely don't want to run that same setup in the race, because when you get this many boats out here, the water gets chopped up. You want to run the engine a little bit lower in the water to keep the boat on the water, to keep it running smooth.
All right, there's the number 7 boat of Bill Siebold. We're on lap number 22. 22 laps completed in this 50-lap main event. And there you see the Rooster Tail coming up from behind the boat of Bill Siebold of St. Louis, Missouri, your leader after 22 laps here along the banks of the Sacramento River. And Bill Siebold is in command, and he really feels like he has accomplished just about everything there is to do in tunnel boat racing, but he has never won here in Sacramento. And we talked to Bill Siebold earlier about that, and he says he would like to win this race because it's a tight course, it's a fast course, it's very challenging. He has the boat, he has the setup, and the only thing I think, Mike, that would prevent Bill from winning this race right now would be a breakdown.
The way he's running right now, John, yeah, that's correct. I don't think there's any way that Johnston's going to be able to make up the time that Billy's got on him. Billy's watching over him. He sees him back there. Billy's not trying to push it. He doesn't want to stress the equipment any more than he has to. But he can't relax too much, because if you relax too much, that's when the mistakes happen. And right now he's got a commanding lead, and he doesn't have to back off too far.
Bill Siebold in boat number 7. You talk about having the right setup. There is Bill Siebold. He has found the right setup in that engine today, that Mercury 300 horsepower engine that Bill Siebold has on the outside of his boat right now. He is your current leader. You know, you talk about the setup and setting up of the engines, but you don't really know you have the right setup until you get out on the water and start racing. Isn't that right?
Well, most of the drivers have run in these kind of conditions before, and they know their boat well enough that they know in the rough water they're going to have to lower the engines, maybe run a little smaller pitch propeller for the additional acceleration. So yes, they do know that. The courses are basically the same around the country, so they compensate for it.
The boat in your picture now coming head on straight at you. The nose, the cone up in the air, the Rooster Tail behind. The boat of number 7, Bill Siebold out of St. Louis, Missouri. And coming down the front straightaway right now, he has a commanding lead on Don Johnston. And Johnston just trying to hold on to his number 2 position right now, because Steve D'Souza is in 3rd place of Linwood, Washington, followed by Scott Gilbert, and then, of course, Mike Siebold, the son of Bill, the leader in this current race. And there's a shot of Bill Siebold's boat from the air. You know, in tunnel boat racing, you have your elite teams, Mike, just like in auto racing. And, of course, it's no secret that Mike and Bill Seabold are sponsored by Bud Light of St. Louis, Missouri. Basically, is that what it boils down to? The elite teams have the money to buy the proper equipment.
Well, this sport is growing every year, and the Bud Light team, Bill being from St. Louis, has had the Bud Light sponsorship for several years. You got the Cassavery team of Buck Thornton, Easy Loader of Steve D'Souza. Each year we seem to pick up more and more big-name sponsors, and the Arcadian boat of Jim Howenstein, Arcadian Trucking of Don Johnson, the boat driver. Every year we pick up a few more sponsors, and hopefully in a few years we'll have all the boats will have big-time sponsors.
Well, Bill Seabold, of course, is sponsored by Bud Light. He is one of the elite racing teams here on the IOGP Series. He is in the lead. 26 laps completed on this 50-lap main event on the Sacramento River. And Bill Seabold, your leader, will be back after this.
I'm down here at dockside with Jimmy Johnson, Jim Johnson's son. Jim Johnson was in 5th position after about 20 laps. He had to pull in. Jimmy, what happened?
Well, he was running really strong, got up to about 5th place, and what I believe happened was we lost a power trim solenoid. And he was going down the back straightaway, going into the wind, and he got the boat up in the air, looked like he was going to blow it over, and he went to get off the throttle, and he said that the throttle was trying to stick a little bit on him. He tried several times out there to recover from the problem, and he come into the dock to have me check it out. I couldn't attempt to make it stick again, so he's out there right now, seems to be holding his own pretty good, so I'm hoping for the best.
So you're still not sure what happened?
I'm still not sure exactly what happened. The only thing I can tell you is that we did lose a power trim solenoid, and he's running without power trim.
Okay, thanks. Back to you, John.
Okay, Mike, we've got Bill Seabold, the number 7 boat out of St. Louis, in the lead right now. He has been in the lead for, well, about 27, I believe, of the 32 laps completed here on the 50-lap main event. But you have some other boats behind him trying to chase him. And the number 21 boat, Don Johnston, is in 2nd, followed by Steve D'Souza, Scott Gilman, and then his son, Mike Seabold. And then John Nichols takes up the number 6 spot. What about the strategy of some of these boats trailing Bill Seabold right now?
Right now, the strategy is just to hold on, because Billy's luck has not been that good out here. And the way the conditions are, the drivers can't really run any harder. So they got to hopefully think that Billy's going to break down possibly, because right now it's just too rough to really drive it any harder, because you make a mistake and you're out of it for good then.
The conditions are not conducive to drive any harder, are they?
No, they're not right now. It's just too rough. With all the boats out here running the way they are, they chop the water up, the wind conditions. It's just too rough to drive any harder right now.
Well, not only that, I don't think anybody's got the boat that can really catch Bill Seabold, who's in the lead right now. Do you?
Well, with 37 years experience, you got other drivers out there that have got just about as much. Art Kennedy's been around as long. Don Johnson, he's a veteran also. Mike Seabold, he's been racing a number of years too, so experience is very important out here in the conditions we're running in today.
Bill Seabold is a legend in tunnel boat racing. We've mentioned that before. And we'll go down to Mark Hedlund down on the dock area.
Well, John, I have Tom Stickle with me. He's a crew chief for Bill Seabold. You got to be real pleased with what Bill's doing so far.
Yes, very pleased. If we just stay together, we've had a lot of problems this year, but hopefully so far he's doing real good.
This water's getting a little bit choppy. It's got to be tough to keep it together.
Yes, it is. It's not really any worse now than it was when we started, but Billy's a good rough water driver. He can handle it.
Who do you see as the biggest challenger right now?
Well, the biggest challenger is still Don Johnson, who's right behind us, but I think Billy's backed down a little bit trying to save equipment.
Okay. All right, John, back to you.
Okay. We are on lap 34, 50 laps here on this main event, but only 34 completed so far. He said that I heard his crew chief say that Bill is backing off just slightly right now, Mike.
Well, you can tell that he's backed off a little bit. He's not quite running the boat quite as loose as he was earlier. You can see right now on your screen, the boat's running a little flatter. It's not quite as aired out. He's trying to run clean in this rough water. He's got to be careful not to back off too much. Tom Stickle, a very good friend of Billy's. He's been running. He used to race against Seabold years ago. Now he's his crew chief.
Well, you know, talking to Don Johnson, I asked him to describe himself as a driver. He says, I'm very aggressive. What do you think, how aggressive do you think he wants to get right now? Knowing the wind is here, knowing the conditions of the water, how aggressive do you think Don Johnson can realistically be right now?
Don Johnson is a very smart driver. He knows right now that he's not going to be able to catch Billy the way they're running right now in these conditions. What he wants to do, he wants to win this race, but if he has to end up second, he's still in the points lead for the overall championship at the end of the year, so he doesn't want to blow that, so he's just running as close as he can to Billy and stay there and hope Billy breaks.
In other words, what you're trying to tell me is he doesn't want to let emotion take over in this race. He wants to use his head.
That's right. Right now, it looks like Don has made up a little time on Billy. He's not quite as far behind Billy as he was earlier, so maybe Billy's backing off a little too much, or maybe he might be coming up with a problem. We don't know yet.
That's right. Don Johnson has made a move, so maybe he is operating on emotion right now to a certain extent as they go around turn number 3 and turn number 4, heading south here on the main straightaway. That is Bill Seabold in the white boat, number 7. Driving the Bud Light, followed by, you can't see him because he's in the rooster tail, but that's Don Johnson in the orange boat right behind him, trying to catch him. Number 21, Don Johnston. We might remind you again, in case you've just joined us, Bill Seabold in the lead, chased by Don Johnson. Those two involved in a major accident here a year ago, and these two teams have some bad blood amongst them. It's been going on a long time, Mike.
Oh, I don't know if I'd consider it bad blood. They just are very competitive teams. And that accident last year, it was a bad deal. They were just running strong together. It's ironic that you see him now, and you just about saw Don Johnson lose it there in the turn. He just about barrel rolled it. So he's got to be very careful in these conditions. They're just very competitive teams.
No question about it. The two boats last year flipped in the water, and Don Johnson, he didn't know it. He was walking around on the dock area. He said he felt fine, but then suddenly he found himself in the hospital. He had problems, medical problems, internal injuries. But he is back this year and trying to catch his old nemesis, Bill Seabold, in the number 7 boat, and it looks like he's fallen back just slightly again now as that Bill Seabold enters turn number 3 and comes around turn number 4, Mike.
Well, that accident last year, Don was one of the only drivers not in the safety capsule, and this year it's mandatory for all the champ boats to have the safety capsule. And if he'd had that accident last year and been in a capsule, he would not have been injured at all, most likely. But he wasn't, and he was seriously injured.
That's right. Don Johnson had a torn colon and 4 broken ribs from that accident because he did not really have that safety capsule. Bill Seabold had the safety capsule last year. There he is in the lead. And during that accident last year, suffered only a cut above the eye. Bill Seabold in the lead, back down to Mark Hedlund.
Well, John, I'm here with Bill Chatfield, who is the crew chief for Don Johnson. Obviously, Don is right there with Bill. Where do you think on the course is Don's best chance to possibly overtake the lead?
Well, I really don't know. We're going to have to just sit and wait. We did some changing in the boat since the last races. We were having handling problems towards the end of the race, and the boat got light. And it doesn't seem to be having them problems today, and he's came back on Bill. So we're just going to have to wait and see. We really don't know.
It's like deja vu to a year ago.
Yeah, we'll just hang in there.
Has the boat been running all right for Don?
Yeah, boats, we had problems earlier in the day, well, yesterday, and we got them worked out this morning, and we're running as good as it's going to run right now, I think.
All right, Bill Chatfield keeping his fingers crossed for his man, Don Johnston, right there in second place. John?
All right, we've got 40 laps completed. That means 10 laps to go in this Champ Boat Final here at the Sacramento Water Festival. Your leader again, Bill Seabold, has opened up slightly a lead now. He's coming down the main straightaway here along the Sacramento side of the river.
What I think happened there, Billy backed off a little bit. He probably lost Johnston in his mirrors and didn't see him, and he backed off a little too much and Johnston caught up to him. Probably saw him into the turn and figured, I better get on a little bit more. I don't want to let him get too close to me.
All right, Bill Seabold traveling south on the yellow side of the river, the back straight here on this tight, fast, narrow course here along the Sacramento River. Bill Sebold enters turn number 3 now, as we have 41 laps completed, and into turn number 4, and again heading north away from the Pioneer Bridge, heading toward the Tower Bridge here along the Sacramento River. And here he comes right by us along the press box side at a sizable lead now on Don Johnston, number 21. Matter of fact, he has a 6-second lead on Don Johnston, number 21. So he has opened up the gap again to a certain extent. The two battling back and forth. This is actually a good race. It's a great race.
It's an excellent race. Billy, you could tell earlier, he's running the boat a little flat, keeping more of the boat in the water. That slowed him down a little bit, allowed Johnston to get to him. And you can see right now that he's opened a nice aerial shot. You can see him. The boat's running a little looser when he's coming on straight. Now look at it, he's coming down straight. The boat is totally aired out. You can see the nose coming downwind right now. Totally aired out. You can see the very rear portion of the boat in the water, so he's running beautiful.
All right, you got two drivers. One is the old wily veteran, right? Bill Sebold, we know that. The other one is the hard-charging youngster, Don Johnston, trying to catch him. Which one of these drivers would you say is the most aggressive?
That's a tough one to call, John. They're both very aggressive drivers. Billy's got 37 years of experience. Don, relatively newcomer. He's been racing for several years, but he's just really starting to come on strong. I like his driving style. A little aggressive, but you got to be driving a tunnel boat.
Well, it's obvious, it goes without saying, that Sebold's strategy is going to be different than Johnson, because Sebold's in the lead right now, and knowing what the water conditions are, we've mentioned it before, the wind kicks up, it dies down, the conditions change at a moment's notice.
I'll tell you what, if Don Johnston does finish second to Billy in a race like this, knowing he's not that far behind him, Billy, the wily veteran, running in these conditions, Don's got to feel pretty good, even though he may finish second.
Bill Sebold is 6 laps away from victory here, his first ever along the banks of the Sacramento River. We have 44 laps completed. This is a 50-lap main event here. And Bill Sebold coming around turn number 3 and 4. And again, along the main straightaway here, going north toward the Tower Bridge. He has the lead. He's got 44 laps completed. As we mentioned, Bill Sebold has never won a race here in Sacramento. He's won many around the world in his 37 years of racing, but never here in our own capital city. Around turn number 1, around turn number 2, headed south again on the back straight along the Yolo side of the river, and Bill Sebold has opened up that lead just slightly again on Don Johnston. I would have to say at this point, this is Sebold's race unless he does break.
Well, that's right now. There's no way that Billy's going to lose this race unless he makes a major mistake, which is not likely with Mr. Sebold, but there's still 6 laps left, and we'll have to see what happens. But right now, he is running a very good, clean, strong race.
Well, this guy is a pioneer in racing. We mentioned he's a boat designer, he's a boat builder, he's a creator, he's a legend, 61 world and national titles, more than anyone else alive. He began racing at age 11. His dad put him in a boat and said, here you go racing. And Mike Sebold, his son, is the 3rd generation, as we got 46 laps completed now. And the fastest lap for Bill Sebold, 120 miles an hour. His average speed, 115.3. That's very fast on this course under these conditions.
Oh, that's very fast for these conditions, John. You're right. And Don Johnston, he's running about 115.0, where Billy's at 115.3, so he's not that far behind him. But Billy, I think he really has backed off a little bit, just keeping Johnston in his mirror, so he won't let him get too close.
And also, we have to certainly give you an update on who's in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Steve D'Souza has been running 3rd most of the day, as Scott Gilman has been running 4th. Mike Sebold, the number 11 boat, is in the number 5 position. John Nichols of Ocean Ridge, Florida, is in the number 6 position. And Sebold has now completed 47 laps, so he is 3 laps away from his first victory ever here in Sacramento. His boat performing up to par today, as I'm sure that's what he expected out of his crew and certainly his tunnel boat. And what kind of a pounding does this have on the drivers? What kind of an effect does 50 laps take on your body?
Well, not as bad as it used to be because the drivers in these capsules are strapped down. They're not allowed to, they don't bounce around the boats like they used to, so it's not quite as tiring on a course like this as it was in the years past. So these safety capsules really have a good effect on the driver in rough water.
Well, now Seabold's lead is down to 2 seconds on Don Johnston as we got 2 laps to go here in the Champ Boat final. Bill Seabold heading around turn number 3, and again around turn number 4 as his boat sharply turns around that buoy, coming along the front straightaway, heading north from the Pioneer Bridge toward the Tower Bridge. He will come by us here high above our press box, our tower here, and here he comes, number 7, Bill Seabold, and his lead now on Don Johnston is 3 seconds, and we have the white flag. We have 1 lap to go in the race. Seabold with a 3-second lead on Don Johnson. He just made the turn on number 2. He is less than a lap away from victory here in Sacramento. He finished off the year in 1987 by winning 3 in a row: Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Fort Lauderdale. He did not finish in Augusta. He placed 9th in Los Angeles earlier this year. Bill Seabold, 47 years old, from St. Louis, Missouri. Here he comes along the front straightaway, and Bill Seabold is your winner of the 1988 Mayor's Cup here along the Sacramento River. The first ever for the senior Seabold at 47 years old. What do you think is going through the mind of Mr. Seabold now?
Well, he's a very happy man, but I tell you what, Don Johnston finishing second to Billy, he's got to feel good, although I know he wanted to win this race, but to finish second to Billy in a race like this, he's got to feel good. You got young drivers like Scott Gilman finishing 4th, D'Souza in 3rd, Mike Seabold in 5th. Interesting, Scott Gilman finishing 4th. Just started racing last year, and he is really coming along as a driver.
Well, as aggressive as Don Johnson is, he's a hard charger. And you know, if he could not catch Bill Seabold today, it had to be because of 2 reasons. Number 1, the boat of Bill Seabold was running superior today, and also some of the weather conditions, you could not be as aggressive. And now we have the traditional, the taking of the checkered flag by the winner, and certainly the victory lap around here along the Sacramento River. And Bill Seabold, a happy young man right now, and as he just drove by his son in the number 11 boat, that's Mike Seabold. Mike, by the way, finished in 5th, as we have stated earlier. So the official standings go like this: Bill Seabold, the winner, followed by Don Johnson, who finished in 2nd, Steve D'Souza in 3rd, Scott Gilman 4th, Mike Seabold 5th, John Nichols in the number 6 position, and Jim Johnson finishes in 7. Art Kennedy of St. Louis in the number 8 spot. Mark Trotter, who won the SST 140 earlier this afternoon, is in the 9 position, and finishing 10th is Don Armstrong of West Covina, California. We should mention that Jim McKay was also in this race. He is from Modesto, California. He is racing in the Champ Boat competition this year, staying away from the SST, and Jim McKay has a new boat that he is driving this year, number 43 of Modesto, trying to race full-time here on the Champ Boat circuit. There is the boat of the winner, Bill Seabold, and there they give him the checkered flag. And I assume he will take his victory lap before we have a chance to talk to him, before Mark does. How do you think Bill Seabold is going to celebrate tonight? Don't tell me he's going to drink a Bud Light.
Oh, he'll probably drink a few Bud Lights. Interesting, John. This is 4 races we've completed now, and 4 different winners in the IOGP circuit and Champ class. So it's going to tighten up the point standings a little bit. I think Johnson is still going to be in 1st overall points, but it's going to tighten up the race now with Bill Seabold winning this race.
Well, yeah, that's right, because Bill Seabold, with that victory, will now total 569 points. That will still be not good enough to overtake Don Johnson, the point leader, the 1988 Champ Boat standings.
Right here, but you can go through it full tilt.
Now down on the dock with the winner is Mark Evans.
Thank you very much, Bill Seabold, the winner, $8,000.
Bill, so how'd the boat run? It looked like it was going great the whole race.
It ran very well the whole race. A couple times it dropped some RPM coming down the straightaway though, and I don't know whether it was just the rough water messing up the EFI or what, but then it picked right back up and took off again, so I just kept my foot in it.
Boy, Don Johnson didn't let up for a minute. He was on your tail the whole time.
I know he was. I was watching him in the mirrors, and I'd stretch out a little bit on him, and then we'd come up some traffic, and there he was right behind me. I was having a little trouble with that turn down there, and I think that's where he was picking his time up. And I knew I had it on him through this rough stuff here, so that's why I was trying to make up time at this end.
It was getting pretty rough there for a while. Any problems with that?
No, it was the roughest right here on this stretch, but the worst place in the race course was around the highway bridge turn there. It's real funny water there. That's where Craig went over or nosedived or whatever he did, and we were right behind him when that happened. So that's real funny water there.
And now you got one. You finally won here in Sacramento.
Finally won in Sacramento after all these years. Yeah, and this is the first one this year, too. It's been a real dry spell. Thank you.
All right, congratulations. That's Bill Siebold, winner of the Mayor's Cup race here today. John?